this is your story that you gave me. Video game spending goes down. Can you explain to us what is happening here? Because I have a lot to say on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, basically there were studies made in this case. I think it was data from Circana. No, it's Wall Street Journal. The spending on video games is dipped by close to 25% on the 18 to 24-year-old. This is an American study, so this is going to be for young Americans. But on the 18 to 24-year-old bracket, video games have dropped a lot, 25% even. And even on other brackets, they're also dropping a little bit. But video games themselves are dropping harder than other things like accessories and, other types of technology that you can get. Yeah. Now, they don't really present a conclusion as to why. They just talk a little bit about, the current economic conditions, which is definitely one of the reasons. Yeah. But the reality is a lot of companies are reaching the finding out part of the fucking around with increasing of prices. Yeah. This is my analysis on this. What has been happening? And we talk about this all the time on this podcast. Gabe Newell has always stated as like, listen, piracy, that's a service issue. Yeah. And guess what? We're having a lot of fucking service issues right now in this industry. Y'all went and it's like, when was it that we got to the $70? Was it like 2-3 years ago or something like that? We got the $70?
If you ask the PlayStation fans, they'll be like 5 years ago already, right? But in the PC space, it's like 2 years or so. Mass adoption only really for the last year, right? Like we already had some games that were trying to get $70.
Like for instance, to give people an idea, right? Elden Ring released at $60. Yeah, on PC. Elden Ring released at $60. Yeah, but Cyberpunk's way older than Elden Ring.
3 years, but still, not that long ago, we still had major blockbuster games launching in 60.
But so the point is, they've increased prices, and now they're doing it again, and they're going too fast, and people are like, well, on top of it, there's another thing, which is not only they're increasing prices, the video game DRM is getting more and more intrusive with things like Denuvo. And so people are going like, why the fuck am I paying money for this? Like, fuck that. I'm just going to go get it off of Pirate Bay. Yeah. Like, fuck you guys. You're making it harder for people to buy the video games than it is to pirate them. Yeah. You can push people so far, and then eventually people are going to push back. Now, that's not the only reason, because there's also obviously a lot of people are nowadays addicted to their cell phones more so than necessarily sitting in front of a computer. Yeah. Which, especially in the 18 to 24-year-olds, like, despite the fact that my kid has a Switch, most of his gaming nowadays is done on fucking websites. It's so disappointing. Yeah. Like, he plays this blocks something IO website where it's like it's a Minecraft FPS that he plays with his friends or whatever. And this is all like through a browser and using touchscreen interface. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so disappointed in you, son. I tried hard to do better. The problem is that he's playing multiplayer games with his friends, right? That's the issue. So it's like it's bad influences that I can't control. Yeah, it's his friends. I have to get rid of them.
You get him some new friends.
Son, you need some new friends. Okay, your friends are ruining you. Need to put some better people in your life, son. This is not acceptable. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, younger people, they mostly game on like mobile devices and shit like that. And in those situations, most of those are done through like, free-to-play games, stuff like that. But the interesting thing is that even then, they still account for like people spending money on those games, right? So it also means that in general, people are not finding as much value in those games either, which is, again, a little bit of healing. But at the same time, yeah, I definitely think that it's all of these price increases. And hell, even consoles are increasing in price. How does it make sense that you're going to sell an Xbox Series X for more expensive than you sold it in like 2019, 6 years ago? That's not how it works. No. These things depreciate in value. They don't appreciate in value. Yeah. The fuck do you mean? So
it's an investment now, according to these guys, right? Like you're investing in your future, buying bullshit.
Yes. It's so dumb. But yeah, those are like my conclusions that I can draw from, people spending less money.
I think one extra thing that I will say on this, because you've pretty much touched on everything that I wanted to sort of get out or get on top of. But one extra thing I'll say is this is also a direct result of gaming studios, what we spoke about earlier, seeing an angle to turn their game into a live service, making a worse version of the game, but thinking that they can prop it up by just selling a bunch of stuff to people, right? You take Diablo, for example.
SimCity was the perfect example of that. Diablo 4 is another one,
Diablo 4 is a great example of a game that so desperately wants to be a live service game that it's just made it worse. The thing that made Diablo 2 sort of like the golden era of Diablo was that it was actually a game made for single player that then just worked super well as like a quote unquote live service type game. Not because it was live service, but because people just continuously wanted to play it because it was so very good, right? And instead of just trying to do that with Diablo 4, the focus is consistently just on, well, get people to max level so that we can start getting them into this endless churn that allows them to spend money and buy stuff from our game because that's how we make our money. And at some point, people just realize, wait, but it's not worth the money. Why am I paying this? And then especially you look at, I just last night started playing Palworld again. You look at that game, it launched not even for that much. It was like $30, right, at launch. And it has had how many free updates now? Where you just get,
I don't know,
all of these updates given to you for free because they made so much bloody money that they're just like, hey, thanks for the support, boys. Here's some free shit. And it just continues.
No Man's Sky is doing the same thing too. They're constantly updating their game. Yeah. The amount of content that people have gotten from No Man's Sky is absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, right. So clearly there is money to be made if you just make a good game. But of course, these indies, these AAA studios have become so greedy that they've effectively started shooting themselves in the foot. Now you have the opposite problem, right? The idea is because these companies are starting to run into financial issues because of bloating budgets that have just gone insane, and because the investor brain of spending more money equals more profits didn't work out. Right, they're now falling into the classic bankruptcy trap, which is what a lot of companies that heads for bankruptcy falls into. Is this idea of we'll just increase the price because we're still selling, say, 2-3 million copies of our games, but if we can go from $60 to $70 or $70 to $80,
it'll be so much better.
Yeah, we'll make so much more money. I mean, what happens when you increase the price a little bit more is the sales don't stay at 3 million. And anyone who thinks about this for 2 seconds logically would go, yeah, if you're going to make the price $80, it's kind of makes sense that you're going to sell less copies because not everyone has $80 to hang around. But remember, if you're a suit, right, that lives with his head up in his asshole, $80 is no money, right? Bro. This guy is getting millions of dollars a year. $80 is like no money to this guy. Not to mention the fact that he actually believes that his game is irresistible to the players. The players can't help themselves. They must buy these games. Yeah?
You want to talk about somebody who is completely out of touch and that thinks exactly like what you just described? Because a lot of people will be like, okay, nobody is that out of touch. So to give you guys an idea, you want to know the predictions that EA has for their next Battlefield game?
Oh, yeah, yes, please.
They're being very modest about it, you know. They have like modest expectations to make sure that nothing goes wrong. It's just a measly 100 million players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. That easy target, just 100 million. Yes, absolutely, makes perfect sense to me. Why wouldn't there be 100 million players on the next Battlefield game? I mean, it's not like the last ones didn't do phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean the last one barely got 100 players, so 100 million doesn't seem like that big of a step up. It's just 3 extra zeros, actually 6 extra zeros. Excuse me. But
oh my God,
you know,
these people are so crazy.
0 isn't even really a number, so you can just add those on and you'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I'm not gonna like. Let's just. There's no point, right? These people live with
this one's
and the problem is, and here's why what Huracan just said is so perfect. They think that they want to see 100 million players play the next Battlefield. But they spent over $500 million already on the next Battlefield. That's how much they spent designing it. And
that's a fantastic
idea. This is exactly what we're talking about, right? This mindset of more money equals more players. So Andrew Wilson walked away from the failures of Battlefield 2040, whatever, and he thought to himself, the problem is we didn't spend enough.
Our budget wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
We need a bigger budget.
Increase that budget, because if we had only spent 50 million more, we would have had the players here.
That's usually how I go about my videos. It's like, let's say I spent 20 hours working on this really crazy video and it fucking bombs. I'm like, man, if only I'd spent 100 hours on it, it would have been so much better. Same topic, same everything, but just more hours of me working on it would have totally fixed it. Yes, 100%.
Usually if I'm working 10 hours on a video and it bombs, I'm just like, man, I should have spent 5 minutes on this bullshit. This is not worth it. Bye. Sometimes you have dreams.
It's like, listen, it's the idea, for instance, like you look at this piece right here, right, that I've been painting. Look at it. Doesn't it look beautiful?
Yeah.
Right? And you look at this and you're like, hey, that actually looks pretty good. That doesn't look amazing. It's like, you know what that needs? It just needs more colors. If you put the whole fucking rainbow on that grim, dark piece of terrain, it will be so much better, bro. Yeah. Just do that. Just put some yellows on there. Put some fucking pinks. It'll be great.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Just throw it into a paint bucket. That should do. Yeah, exactly. That should do the trick.
That'll fix everything.
Yeah. Well, anyways, games is dying. AAA gaming is dying. These guys have run out of ideas. They've run out of room, and they seem to just be speed running it towards the end of the road as fast as they can. At least from what I can tell.